of the Albany Library, and she's going to start out by welcoming you.
On behalf of the friends and the staff of the Albany Library, I welcome you to Ronnie's retirement party. Thanks to the friend, the library staff, especially Paula Greer, the volunteers and the family who advised and cooked and carried and arranged to make this party possible. When we began talking about the party, Ronnie said she wanted something small and welcoming, a place where people were comfortable. She said she'd like to have a pitcher or two of water, maybe with lemon. Perhaps a dish or two of cookies, a little something for those who drop by. So how do you plan a party that's welcoming and comfortable with something for everybody who drops by? It struck me that over the past 32 years, Ronnie has done just that at the library. She had a vision of what a library could be, and the determination to make her vision a reality. She created a vibrant atmosphere and led a knowledgeable staff. She's continued to choose programs that have a broad range of appeal, anticipating the diversity of the interests and needs of the community. For the toddler who wants to sing and learn new words, to the poet who uses rhythm and the color of words, for the job seeker and the retiree, for those who come to find something to read, a drama to watch, for those who just need a warm and welcoming place to be. Thank you for your dedication to the library, especially your support of the Friends. I wish you a future as vibrant and stimulating as the years you've given us during your career at the Albany Library. Welcome to your party, Ronnie.
Thank you, Liz. That was very gracious. Cindy? Cindy Chadwick is the County Library's Deputy County Librarian.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here this morning, and great to meet so many people whose names I've heard and seen on pieces of paper and actually on buildings sometimes, and I've finally gotten to meet. I'm fairly new to the county. I've only been here about 2 years, and I was just telling Diane Davenport that I'm new to the game, but one of the people who has helped me in the last 2 years a great deal is Ronnie, and I'm very pleased to be able to say on behalf of the County Library how grateful we are for your service and how much you will be missed. We had a general management meeting of our 40 or so managers from the Alameda County Library just on Wednesday, and I wrote down some of the words that came up when we were saying our goodbyes to Ronnie as a management team. These words were gracious, kind, full of integrity, a shepherd to her staff and to the Albany community, credible and warm. And these are all words that resonate with me in thinking about Ronnie. In coming to the library just a couple of years ago, Ronnie and I have had the chance to work together a good bit, and I have so appreciated her passion and also also her judgment and the experience that she's brought. We've had more than one dinner over here at Sophia's on Solano, where I'm literally sitting there with my head in my hands, pulling on my hair, and Ronnie's talking me through something. So I'm very glad to hear that Ronnie's not going far. Because I'm still going to need to meet you over at Sophia's probably. But Ronnie and I, we haven't always seen eye to eye on the business of the library, and Ronnie is what I would call the best example of loyal opposition. And I mean that as a compliment. She is someone whose integrity, whose judgment, and whose intention to provide the best service possible for people in this county, I have never questioned in any of the disagreements we've had. And so, in trusting those things, I've been able to relook at my own perspective when we disagree, and that's led to better decision making. And I've really appreciated that, and I'm really going to miss it. And I wish you well. We love you, Ronnie. We're going to miss you, and I'll be calling you for a dinner shortly, I'm sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy. That was wonderful. Peggy Thompson, our Albany mayor.
Yeah, she has to come up with a proclamation. So this is a proclamation from the city for Ronnie. In honor of Ronnie Davis' service to the Alameda County Library and the city of Albany. Whereas Ronnie came to Albany in 1975 after completing her undergraduate degree at New York University and her graduate degree at the School of Library Science at Columbia University under a New York State Library Scholarship. And whereas on July 19, 1976, Ronnie Davis began her services with the Alameda County Library. And whereas on July 19, 1981, Ronnie was promoted to supervising librarian and began working at the Albany Library. And whereas under Ronnie's leadership, in working with her staff in the city of Albany, Alameda County was awarded one of the first competitive grants from the State Library for library construction in the wonderful library at 1247 Marin. And whereas in 1994 and 2006, Ronnie continued to support the library by working with Albany citizens and friends of the Albany Library to pass 2 tax measures to provide additional hours of service and to open on Sundays, which is very unusual. And whereas Ronnie was the driving force in the development of the role, purpose, and services of the community library to meet the needs of the residents going forward in the future. And whereas Ronnie has affected so many people's lives through her dedicated, caring leadership, and whereas through that leadership, the Albany Library continues to service 1,000 people every day with its summer programs, poetry events, wireless internet, books, and e-books. Now, therefore be it proclaimed that the Albany City Council wishes to express its appreciation and gratitude to Ronnie Davis for exceptional stewardship and her service to the city of Albany. I get to do what some of you don't get to do, but I've been here a really, really long time, and what I remember about Ronnie is the days over on Solano when we had this petite lady who was sometimes shorter than the stacks of books. I see a lot of people going, yeah. At that time, I didn't know what we all know today, that small is mighty. I really am at a loss for words because what Ronnie has done for this library for this community is extraordinary. She has brought us services that I don't think any of us could have imagined. And she, as has been said, she's done it with such grace. I've come to this new library, and maybe I think one of the times was when they had just gotten computers, and it was like, what do I do now? And Ronnie just took me through the process. And here she was leaving the library, but she took time out for me as a patron to give me that service. And that to me exemplifies Ronnie. So thank you so much from all of us.
Thank you, Peggy. That's very nice. Rosalie Gonzalez, who is chair of the Albany board.
So I'm chair or president or something of the library board, and I was also a school librarian here in Albany High School District for many years. And I've lived in Albany for a real long time, and so has Ronnie. And over the years, our paths have often crossed, and that crossing has often been associated with and around libraries. I first met Ronnie's two sons when they came to Marin Elementary School as young students and came to the school library. And I brought my two sons to the Albany Public Library over on Solano for the summer reading program. That library, for many years, it was pretty obvious that that library was inadequate. But it was Ronnie's, the community, this Albany community has always been really, really supportive of libraries, school, public, whatever. And with the community support and Ronnie's guidance and inspiration, we built this library. The community built this library, and we passed 2 parcel tax to support it. So I also had the pleasure of working with Ronnie on the Library Reads Committee. That was a program of the Albany Library. It's been more or less successful, but the committee meetings were really fun because we could all sit around and just talk endlessly, it seems like, about books and which book would be the perfect book for the Albany community to share together. And Ronnie always exhibited during that time her wide readership and her really deep knowledge of what the Albany community was all about. Then a couple of years ago, I was appointed to the Albany Library Board, and I learned another side of Ronnie there, really her advocacy for libraries, for the structure of libraries, and how to actually manage things. And that was very obvious sitting in on all of those library board meetings. Now she's retiring from her position as a librarian for the Alameda County Library system, but I'm pretty sure she won't be retiring from her advocacy of libraries and as a strong reader and supporter of libraries in the Albany community. And I'm sure our paths will continue to cross along the way. Thank you.
Rosalie, thank you so much. And I wanted to ask Amelia Lopez to come up and give a proclamation.
Good morning. So Assembly Stair was unable to make it today, but she did send a certificate from Ronnie, and it's for your decades of exemplary service and exceptional work here at the Albany Library, and hopefully you continue to further our community.
Aisha, could you come up as well, please? Aisha's from Keith Carson's office.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Aisha Brown, representing Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson. And this is my colleague, Kevin Jenkins, who will now be liaison to Albany as well. So I want to make sure you all got the chance to meet Kevin as we take the moment to recognize Ronnie today. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you, Ronnie, for all your years of service to the Albany Library. I mean, you have been truly a great advocate, a great leader, a great person to really get to know. You have really been supportive of our office and the work that we do, and we really appreciate the time and the dedication that you've shown the residents of Albany as well as the county of Alameda. So we just want to present to you today, and actually I'm going to allow Kevin to do this because this is his hard work, but I don't want to take away from that.
Ronnie Davis. Whereas the Alameda County Board of Supervisors would like to be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors congratulates Ronnie Davis for her many accomplishments in the Alameda County Library system and for her commitment to the County of Alameda and our residents.
Thank you very much. This is my chance to talk a little bit about Ronnie. I know Ronnie for a very long time. We first met when she came to work for the Alameda County Library in 1976. She was hired as the bookmobile librarian by Diane Davenport. In those days, it was pretty hard to get a job as a librarian. When Ronnie applied, she was one of 189 librarians placed on an eligibility list. She was hired because she was number 5.5. Gina Manudri can be credited for recognizing Ronnie's talents and ranking her that high. And Gina's over here too. But that wasn't the first time that Ronnie's talents were recognized. Ronnie was awarded her Master's in Library Science from Columbia University. She attended on a full scholarship from the New York State Library Association based on an essay she wrote entitled, "What Books Mean to Me." It was so good that I'd like to read it for you now. Ronnie started her professional career working for the New York Public Library, and she learned a lot about outreach in that job. Going to street fairs, working on a system-wide project to increase library community partnerships, and storytelling in Central Park. She was mugged and robbed storytelling in Central Park. Not once, but twice. And of course, her work in outreach continued on the bookmobile and her work in the county jails. She got to tour around the county with Peter Greenstein and Larry Duckwall. Where's Peter? Ronnie was a terrific children's librarian and a premier storyteller. She did a fine job with both the Santa Rita and Federal Correctional Institute library patrons as well. When library service to jails was discontinued after Proposition 13 passed, she was a key member of the Coalition to Restore Quality Library Services and worked to get jail services restored, as well as other services that were lost. And she brought the Community Information Project to Alameda County Library. Anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Everything old is new again. Some of you probably remember this effort. Ronnie had been involved in a similar effort in the New York Public. The basic premise was that library staff would go out to their communities, build partnerships, gather information, and become connected with other organizations for mutual benefit. All staff participated and worked together. It was a massive system-wide effort that made a huge difference. Ronnie was a featured speaker about this project at ALA and CLA, and many other libraries followed her lead and adopted similar programs. In 1981, Ronnie became the manager of the Albany Library. The library was housed in a very small building on Solano Avenue. It was a 3,000 square foot building with one bathroom for both the staff and the public. But it was very well used, the library, not the bathroom. And very beloved by the community. Ronnie worked there for 13 years until this beautiful new building was opened in 1994. Ronnie is intimately involved in every aspect of making the new library a reality. She was an advocate for the state bond measure, worked with a team to write one of the highest ranked grant applications in the state, contributed her talent and wisdom during the construction phase, and finally led a team of staff to open and run it. She was also involved in the efforts of 2 independent committees with 2 successful tax campaigns to raise funds for library operations that allow the Albany Library to open more hours, including Sundays. System-wide, Ronnie took on the effort to market the library services. She was responsible for creation of monthly calendars at each branch. That's where they came from. And she worked with the Bay Area Library and Information Service Committee Public Relations section to spread the word about libraries throughout the Bay Area. Over the years, Ronnie has a consistent, clear, and wise voice at library management meetings. Many of us have gone to her for counsel and advice. Not only is Albany losing an outstanding library manager, Alameda County Library is losing one of our most talented managers as well. I'd like to end with a story. Back when Ronnie and I were on the bookmobile, we were headed out to Santa Rita to deliver services to prisoners. We were driving separately, and Peter and Larry were going to meet us there, and they were driving the bookmobile. Back in those days, the bookmobile was a miserable vehicle, cold, noisy, mechanically unreliable. And not unsurprisingly, it broke down. Peter and Larry knew that Ronnie and I would be driving down 580 to meet them and decided to pull over and wave us down as we went by. Unfortunately, Ronnie and I were deep in conversation. We were discussing whether or not you had to believe in God to be Jewish. Ronnie told me that her rabbi had told her that you didn't have to believe in God, but you had to be willing to question whether or not there was a God. Needless to say, we completely missed Peter and Larry's friend. But one of the things that is so basic to Ronnie's nature and talent is that she's always willing to ask a question. Thank you, Ronnie, for everything. People who might want to say something about Ronnie to come up and speak.
Hello, I'm Charlie Adams, and I'm the finance director for the city of Albany, and hopefully both of you don't know that. and that's the way I try to always be, undercover and I've been able to do that largely because the city manager, Beth Pollard, has always wanted to shield me from the public career. She's afraid what I would do if she Beth is having a well-earned few days off in Florida now, so she's not here. But I wanted to just, if I can, talk a little bit personally about what Ronnie has meant as a staff member for the city of Albany. I first not met Ronnie, but my first introduction to Ronnie came at an early city council meeting when I was there, and Ronnie came to present an annual report about the activities of the library. And I was new to Albany at that time, and we didn't quite understand. And this woman got out who I didn't know, and she went on and singing the praises and talking about activities and such. And I thought, wow, I've never seen anybody who so much in love for their job. and I said, gee, I've never seen anybody who's so fanatical. I'm glad I don't have to work with her. Well, that was the case, and I'm doing my low key thing. When a few years ago, later, Beth came to me and says, well, we need to give you an additional duty. And I was trying to stay away from additional duty. And I said, Yes. She says, there's some issues at the library, the library board and such, and they have communication problems with the county. I want you to go and be liaison and work with them. Yes. And I didn't relish that assignment at all. But as often in life, things that you don't relish or do not really embrace are some of the best things that happen to your life. And that was one of the best things that happened to me. Because then I really got to know and bond with Ronnie. She was a wonderful person to work with, truly a person of integrity, and truly a person of outstanding ability to work with people and to see things clearly and accomplish things. And so it was a great pleasure to work with Ronnie. I began to understand why Albany citizens value their library so much, and what an important institution it is in the city. And I was pleased then to know that I had a role in working with and keeping this valuable and best cherished institution running. So it turns out that that was one of the best things that happened with me in my 12 years of serving as finance director. So I'd like to say thank you, Ronnie.
I'm Richard Russo, and I was for many years the reference librarian here at the Albany Library. It's great to see so many old friends here today. It's really nice to be back. Carolyn did a great job of summarizing Ronnie's many accomplishments. So I thought I'd like to take this chance to say what working with Ronnie meant to me personally. I worked with Ronnie here for more than 25 years, and over that time we had a lot of great times together. Certainly getting this new library building was a high point for both of us in our careers. And notice, I, like some of the other speakers, still think of this as the new library. Even though it opened in '94, it's been here almost 20 years, but I think for us this will always be the new Albany Library. I was already working at the old library on Solano Avenue, which, by the way, when we were applying for the grant, the state librarian looked at we sent a video, the high school kids did a video of the interior of the old building, and when the state librarian looked at that, he said
even if those things maybe were part of their job description, but other things that they weren't good at, that really wanted to do. So part of me marveled at the way that things moved so smoothly, but part of me was still a little miffed that she wasn't being tougher on people. And finally, I asked her about it one day, and she told me that she believed that people are who they are, and that you can't make them change who they are. So that the secret of being a good manager was to get to know your staff, find out what they had to offer, and then encourage them to bring their best qualities and skills to the workplace. She said that she knew we had some quirky people on the staff, but she was finding ways to let them become more involved in the ongoing operation of the library. So things went on like this for a while, and meantime she was giving me more and more responsibility in developing the library's adult collections, even though at this time I was a library assistant. I was not a librarian yet. And so technically it wasn't really in my job description. But I really enjoyed selecting materials for the library, and I was good at it. And then one day it dawned on me, I was one of those quirky, difficult people. And Ronnie was working her management magic on me. I realized, it was really quite startling. I saw myself through her eyes. I realized You know, that there was a way in which I guess I could be considered difficult to manage. You know, I had my own way of doing things, and I moved at my own pace. But I realized also that I was happier at the job than I had ever been in my 15 years prior to that. So it really was a mind-opening moment for me. I suddenly understood the wisdom of her approach, which was compassionate and yet completely practical at the same time. People grew and blossomed under her leadership, and at the same time, things got done. And I think for me, that's the essence of Ronnie's management style. Practical and yet so caring about people. So with Ronnie's support and encouragement, I went on to have a long and rewarding career here at the Albany Library. She engineered my promotion to librarian, and then when the movement for a new library building began, she included me from the beginning. I ended up working on the grant proposal and then working along with Ronnie and the city staff, developing the architectural plans. During that time, she arranged for the county to provide backup staff to cover the reference desk so that I could devote my energy to working on the building plans. And then later, knowing my interest in photography, she encouraged me to work on developing the local history collection. So really, I owe my whole career to Ronnie's influence, and I can definitely say that she helped me become the best librarian that I could possibly be. But her impact on my life was more profound than that, because through her influence, I learned to be more accepting of people, seeing the way that she related to the staff and the way she handled staff. It really taught me to kind of not be so judgmental about people and be open to what they had to offer. And I think I learned from her to speak to and encourage the best in people. So I would say that Ronnie not only helped me become a good librarian, but she also helped me become a better person. Through all those years, she was not only a good boss, but she was a good friend as well. And so, Ronnie, what I would like to say to you today is very simple, but heartfelt. Thank you.
So I'm Alan Harris. I'm a longtime community member. And I've only used this line once before, and that was when Jackie Buchholz retired. And that's that behind every great woman, there's a man. So I would like to thank David. for putting up with almost everything I think that the community benefited from. So for the community, thank you, David. Also, I really appreciate what Richard just said. You know, we gave Ronnie a lot of credit for all of the great things that happened with this library, but it was because she was such a great leader that so much was accomplished by so many. And I really appreciate that characteristic of Ronnie. And I would like to thank you one thing in particular, and that's for working with the Friends of the Albany Library and bringing poetry workshops and poetry open mics to Albany. I think because of that, Albany has really become a center of poetry for the East Bay and maybe for the Bay Area. We draw poets from all over the place who are really excellent poets. So we're more than a library, and we're the extension of really the most that a library could do for a community. So Ronnie, thank you.